Welcome to Canary Crawfish student orientation for the classes beginning October 13th. Crawfish is going to be the Ruby on Rails class, and React is the Canary class. So we name our backend classes after fish and our front end classes after birds, just in case you're curious where the names came from. I'm sharing my screen right now so that way you can see a little bit more about our organization. I had said before starting recording that a lot of you probably are already familiar with this because you've already been with our program, or else you got this information at the live Q&A. But for those of you who weren't already familiar with that information, Code the Dream is a nonprofit organization based in Durham and Research Triangle Park in North Carolina on the East Coast in the US. And we've got two parts to our organization. We have the Code the Dreams Lab side, which is our development shop, and they build clients' apps and websites for them. And we're selective about our clients as far as they should be either like immigrant entrepreneurs, folks that are building things that'll be beneficial to the community. We did a couple of like COVID-19 apps that helped with getting school lunch programs out to the homes while students were having to be quarantined at home, or while they weren't coming into school because schools were closed down. We've done sites for domestic violence resources to be able to help victims of domestic violence. We have an app built for migrant farm workers so that they can find the medical and legal resources that they need. So it's a couple of, or several different projects that our Code the Dream Labs is always working on, and or maintaining ones that we've built previously. But that just kind of gives you an idea of the working side of it. And then we also have our school side of it, which you all will be attending. Congratulations, and we're excited to have you all here. And the school side of it is free classes in intro to programming, front end and back end development to be able to help individuals that are from low income and diverse backgrounds to be able to break into tech, because our main goal as an organization is to be able to diversify the tech industry. We really want to see a lot of diverse background and population working to be able to come up with these amazing technological solutions. So that just kind of gives you an idea of who we are if you haven't already heard it in one of the other previous meetings that we've had, or in your classes if you've been with us that way. So we're going to go ahead and go into breakout rooms for about 4 people per room. And I'll put this prompt up after we get into the breakout rooms, but just kind of get to know your classmates and your other fellow students that are going to be in the program with you. So share your name and pronouns again, where you live, your coding experience, how you got interested in Code the Dream, and favorite flavor of ice cream, or your favorite dessert or sweet treat. Or if you don't like sweet treats, you can say whatever your favorite snack is. Anything along those lines is perfectly fine. So I'm going to go ahead and split you up into breakout rooms. There's nothing that you need to do on your end, but there will be a ask for help button. So if you have any issues, then just hit the ask for help button. Otherwise, it's just going to split you up into rooms of about 4 people in each room. And yeah, just share your information and I'll share the prompts with you again. So I'm going to go ahead and split y'all off, and actually let me pause recording real quick first. And thing. All right, so hopefully you had fun in your breakout rooms. It's always nice to get to know people that you'll be working with. So I'm going to go over our class logistics, like the class structure, as far as the different bits and pieces that make up the course. And then you'll also get a visual of what that looks like for the different bits and pieces. But to kind of give you an idea of the overall student path, so you've been through the application process either in a class prior to the one that you'll be taking now, or an application process that got you into the class that you're taking now. And then the classes portion is made up of 5 parts, and we use this little acronym of MASCOF that you can see on the presentation there to kind of help you cover the different aspects of the class that you need to be attending to each week. So the classes are made up of instructional materials. So for the React class, that's going to be the Road to React textbook, and then some supplemental videos that we're making to go along with the text that you'll be using as the primary learning tool of your class. For the Ruby on Rails class, the instructional materials are predominantly Treehouse videos. So if you're coming from our intro class or from a previous advanced class, then you're already familiar with that format of watching Treehouse videos, code alongside with it, because they have an embedded section there that you can kind of code alongside with the video, and then learn your information that way. Assignments are all done through GitHub. So your class will have its own GitHub repo. And on your first lesson, then you'll fork that information and do what you need to as far as manipulating the code for whatever the assignment is set to accomplish that week. And then when you're done, you create a pull request in your GitHub repo and you send us the link to your pull request. So that way we can take a look at what your coding progress is like and give you any feedback if there's ways to be more efficient with your code, if there are steps that you're forgetting, or if you've just done a great job and we need to let you know, hey, you're on the right track. So that's the assignments portion. Mentor sessions are 1 hour Zoom call sessions with an experienced developer, and they go over any questions that you have about the lesson material and the assignments for the week. Sometimes you'll cover other things as well. A number of mentors will talk about like how they got into the industry, what technical interviews look like, things like that. All the mentors are really very open and welcoming and are excited to help you get into the industry that they're already in and know and love. So feel free to ask other questions too, but make sure that your peers are getting their academic questions answered first before you kind of go off on a tangent of covering those types of topics in your mentor sessions. We ask that you attend 2 mentor sessions a week, and they can be of your choosing. So mentor sessions happen typically in the evenings on weekdays. I think we have a couple that are sort of afternoonish, early afternoonish on weekdays for some of the classes. And then there are a few on weekends as well. So every Monday, I'll publish into that Slack announcements channel the mentor session sign-up sheet for the week. And you can just look to see when the sessions are for that week and what works well with your schedule and just sign up for at least 2 on there. You're welcome to sign up for more, but usually 2 is sufficient enough for most folks to be able to get the answers that they need and get any assistance in understanding the assignment for the week. So that covers mentor sessions. Community Slack is our primary form of being able to have an open discussion between students and between mentors and students. So be sure that you have your Slack account set up by Wednesday for sure. Not Wednesday tomorrow, Wednesday for class, but it's fine if you get it set up Wednesday tomorrow to be able to be prepared and ready. But you have an announcements channel, and that's typically just for announcements. So if a mentor has to change or cancel their mentor session, then they'll have an announcement there. We offer workshops and things throughout the course. So anytime we have a workshop that's open to students, as far as like, they cover topics like your LinkedIn account and your LinkedIn profile, how to get that looking, it's best for any kind of job applications, or resume building, or soft skills like getting into a programmer's mindset, things of those natures, then those workshops will be publicized on your announcements channel so that you know the when and where to be able to join that call. And then, of course, your weekly lesson announcement will be posted in the Slack channel as well, the class announcements channel. And the mentor session sign-up sheets will be there as well. So the discussion channel then with your class is more for you all to be able to post questions to each other in order to help each other out. And then mentors also are on that channel as well. So if you post a question and you can't find the answer and somebody isn't able to help you out, then mentors can intervene as well and kind of help point people in the right direction. So be sure to use the discussion section to go over any kind of questions as far as that goes. And you can just use it for fun too. If you just want to be like, hey, does anybody want to get together for a study session or a game, play Catan online or whatever, then you're welcome to use that discussion channel within your class to be able to reach your classmates that way as well. And then final projects. So for the Road to React class, the project that you're building in each assignment throughout the course is actually your final project, and you're just building on it with all these different bits and pieces up until the end. So by the time you get to the end of the individual portion, the first 17 weeks of the class, then your final project should be pretty well built. And the last 2 or 3 weeks will predominantly just be cleaning up any code, putting any finishing touches on styles, anything along those lines. And then for the Ruby on Rails class, you learn all the tools that you need to be able to build your final project along the way. And I want to say about halfway through is when your work kind of gets started on your final project portion. But the actual final project, you have a chunk of about 2 or 3 weeks at the end of that 17-week period to be able to really focus on getting it functioning the way that you need it to. So that gives the overall breakdown of the 5 parts that go into our classes: materials, assignments, mentor sessions, community, and final projects. And we'll dive into each of these in more depth as we go through the evening. So after class, what happens then? We do have a very small opportunity for you to be able to be brought into the Code the Dream Labs portion that I was talking about at the beginning of the call, to become an apprentice with our Code the Dream Labs. But there's only usually about like 2 to 4 spots out of each group. So that's both the Canary and the Crawfish classes, front end and back end classes. There are only about 2 to 4 spots out of each class that we can bring people on from. So the other alternative is to go ahead and start job searching for software development jobs. And we do have a partnerships director that joined us several months ago that has actually been with the organization for years, but her main focus is developing partnerships with companies to kind of help route our graduates into entry-level programs with different companies. So we're building on that while you're going through classes. And we also have plenty of resources available on the students' website, the learn.codethedream.org website, as well as just resources through your mentors, through me. Feel free to reach out if there's anything that you're needing through the job application process, or if we can point you in any kind of direction, so that way you can start getting on the path of your career. Any questions so far just about the overall student path for where we go from here? Feel free to either raise your hand or unmute and ask a question, or put it in chat, whatever you're most comfortable doing or whatever's easiest.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Miguel.
I'm so sorry. I pressed the mute button by mistake. You
Oh,
continue.
okay. That's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
Does anybody have any questions? Oh yeah, Eli, go ahead.
Yeah, what would be the criteria to select the 2 to 4 for each group in the course?
Sure, that's an excellent question. So to get into the apprenticeship program, it depends a lot on what our development shop needs are at the time, as far as what spots we have to fill. But also when we're looking at students, how regularly you're attending your mentor sessions, that you're getting your assignments done and turned in on time, and whether or not your assignments are initially accurate or correct when you submit it does not matter as much as at the end of the course, have you absorbed all the information? Do you feel comfortable in what you're doing? Have you built on those skills since the beginning? So those are the kinds of things that we're looking for in our students to determine who gets pulled into the apprenticeship program. Excellent question. Any other questions about the path at all from anyone? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and continue on. Feel free anytime throughout the orientation, if you have questions, pop them up in chat or raise your hand. The little raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. You might have to push the little ellipse, the 3 dots, to be able to do the raise hand feature, but feel free to do that if you need to. Okay, so a lot of other boot camps require either a large tuition up front, or they have some kind of contract arrangement with you, so they might discount or exempt your tuition for those other boot camps, but they require you to funnel money back to them after you've been hired into your first development job. We don't have any kind of contract work. We don't have any tuition here. Instead, we want you to get the most that you can out of our classes. And then after you've completed your classes, find some way to be able to return the favor or pay it forward. That's our biggest concern, is the pay it forward. We want you to be able to share your knowledge with other students, or if you are in a high-paying development job and you feel like kicking a little bit back to us, that's great, because that helps us continue these classes for others. So the paying it forward can come in various ways, as far as helping review assignments for future classes to help students get on track and get the feedback they need so they can grow as developers as well, mentoring for a class, or other volunteer opportunities. We have some even with the Code the Dreams lab side that you can volunteer as like a project coach or a project lead after you've gotten enough experience that you can be at that level. So there's a lot of ways to be able to pay it forward, and we hope that you'll just help somebody else up the ladder, just like you're getting help up the ladder right now. So that covers that portion. Okay, so let's dive into information about your classes. Crawfish is the Rails backend class. Canary is the React front end, just to give you a reminder. And the fish names are the backend and the bird names are the front end. So what your classes are looking like currently. So these numbers are actually a little bit lower because I did finally hear back from some students that were offered positions that accepted. So your final count is a little bit higher than that, but it's about 8 to 10 students. I think we're actually maybe even up to 11 for Crawfish. And then we're closer to 30 students for the Canary class. 72% are people of color, 58% are women or non-binary, 92% are low income. Average age is 33, with the youngest being 19 and the oldest being 56. And we've got students in states, 8 different states around the United States and 3+ countries. So we're very spread out. We come from a lot of different cultures, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different experience levels in coding. Some folks have already been exposed to it. Some are a little stronger, some are a little weaker. So we really hope that you'll use the community portion, the Slack channels, to be able to kind of unite and help each other out and level the playing field for everybody by helping each other out. General expectations for students is it'll be about 15 to 20 hours per week for all of the work that you contribute towards your class. And so 2 of those hours of the 15 to 20 hours will be your mentor session. And then the remainder will be split between covering your lesson materials, the instructional materials, so the Treehouse videos and reading the Road to React text. And then the remainder would be working on whatever the coding assignment is for that week. You'll definitely need some quiet space and some intense concentration time to be able to go through it. Usually the first several weeks have a little bit of, okay, we're getting comfortable, we're getting our environment set up, and then it can ramp up pretty quickly. So just be prepared that if you think it's hard, it's going to get a little bit harder, but it's okay if you knuckle down and make use of those mentor sessions. Reach out to mentors if you need any one-on-one help for tutoring. Please feel free to reach out to them that way. And if they've got availability, then they can let you know, and really be dedicated and persevere through the class is the main thing that we're looking for. Attend at least your 2 mentor sessions per week, participate in Slack channel conversations, complete your weekly assignments on time, because the lessons build on each other, as I had mentioned. If you're starting to fall behind, please talk to me. Emily Trabert is also an intern with us for the year, and they are focusing on student progress and student success. So if there's any issues that you need to talk about as far as you're falling behind or anything like that, then feel free to talk to Emily or myself, and we can help figure out ways to be able to get you back on track, or see if maybe there's just another track that would be better for you. It's not uncommon for some of our students to have to kind of put a class on hold and then rejoin in a future cohort. So just know that you do have options, and if life gets in the way, it doesn't mean that you have to give up on your dream altogether. We don't want you doing that. We want you to either get the help that you need to work through, or else communicate with us so that way we can get you on the track that will help you meet your goals. Help each other where you can. Like I said, there's different experience levels in your classes. So if you're already familiar with some concepts, feel free to share that information or things that helped you when you were learning it with each other. And just take charge of your learning, and the dedication and the time is really the main things that go into succeeding in the class. I'm going to talk a little bit about our culture too, as far as the kind of environment we like to have here at Code the Dream.
Mary, can I interrupt real quick?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Thank you. Can you explain the acronym MASCOF again?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go through each letter in the future as well, but M is your materials, your instructional materials. A is your assignment, so the coding assignment for the week. S are your mentor sessions. CO is for community, so being able to keep an open community with everybody. And then F is your final project. But I'll be going through each letter as well too. Don't worry, Miguel. Good question though. Anybody else with any questions? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and keep on rolling. So our culture, because of what our goal is as an organization, then having a very discrimination-free, harassment-free area is extremely important to us. So we expect everybody to be supportive of one another, be inclusive. We want everybody to be pro-human. So it doesn't matter what your background is, it doesn't matter what your education level is, or if you've worked other jobs in other industries, or if you have a huge family or no family, if you are from a very poor background or not a very poor background. We just want you to all be very welcoming and supportive of each other, because you never know what kind of struggles each person's dealing with in their life. So patience and helpfulness is key in class. We don't want any kind of behaviors that would be discouraging to one another, or that would make somebody feel put down, or like their efforts aren't worth it, because everybody here is dedicated and trying hard. So if anything does come up as far as discrimination and harassment, then please contact myself or Lori immediately and let us know what the situation is. So that way we can have an open communication with everybody and make sure that everyone is on the understanding of what behaviors are expected of one another. And if somebody has a problem with having that open and accepting nature that we expect in Code the Dream, then they will be asked to leave. So just be aware of that. An acronym I always like to share is think before you speak. Is what you're about to say true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind? So it's always something good to kind of keep in the back of your mind as far as is what I'm about to say going to be helpful or hurtful? Do I even need to say it, or will they figure out whatever it is they need to figure out on their own? Am I saying it in a kind way instead of a condescending way? That sort of a thing. Our goal here is to really be able to build strong networks, both with students amongst themselves, because you will all start entering the job force around the same time. So it's good to have those sort of network connections, because you'll be hired out to different jobs, I'm sure. So it's important to have that kind of cross-industry connection, just for good job security, or if you need to jump ship from one company that's going under, then you have somebody that you get in the door there or something. So it's important to be able to have a professional manner, and be very anti-discrimination and anti-harassment are just things to keep in mind. So if you do need to contact us, our information's there, Mary Alice at Code the Dream or Lori at Code the Dream, if you need to reach out to us for anything. But hopefully that will be a non-issue, and you'll only have to contact us to ask us questions about curriculum and tell us how great you're doing and that you're excited about your future. So all right, so the abbreviation again, as Miguel was asking for: instructional materials, assignments, mentor sessions, community, and final project. To be able to move on to entry-level jobs or the internship will depend on your participation in the class, your coding ability, your dedication and persistence throughout the course, the quality of your final projects, and then for the apprenticeship, the funding and the number of spots available. As far as moving on to entry-level jobs, then that'll be determined by the kind of work that you're putting in. So whatever you're putting into class, you'll be able to get that out of the class as well, and that will make you a more appealing candidate when you're applying for jobs. And hopefully down the pike, then we'll also have connections with some organizations that we can kind of help filter you into entry-level jobs as well. That is something that we're working very diligently on, to be able to get those structures in place, since our Code the Dream Labs portion isn't a large enough development shop to be able to accommodate all of our graduates. So questions about any of this so far? I know it's a lot of information I'm throwing out at you, so fire off any questions whenever you have them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep on moving on then. All right, instructional materials. So we'll go over the M part of our mask off. For Ruby on Rails, you're going to be using Team Treehouse for your instructional materials, as well as some supplemental links as well. So there are some online tutorials that we have links to on your lesson page that you'll be directed to. So there might be, I think it's 3 weeks total that you don't have a Treehouse assignment, but we have supplemental information, either reading and or watching a tutorial or going through a tutorial to learn those skills for that week. And then the Road to React text, it's a online textbook. I think you can download a PDF copy. I think you can download like a EPUB copy if you want to read it on your Kindle or whatever. And I suppose you can even print a copy if you really want to. If you have access to a printer that can print a bunch of pages for cheap or for free, then that's always an option as well. But the Road to React textbook is the primary for the React class. And then one of our senior volunteers, Jared, that's been with us for several years, has been creating supplemental videos to go along with some of those lessons to kind of help clarify things that the text might not be super clear on, and to kind of give you a visual on those items. I want to show you those sites really quick, so that way you have a visual of what those look like. So Team Treehouse, if I can, sorry, I've got one really huge monitor and one really tiny monitor. So it's always a sizing issue when I move them over. Team Treehouse is just treehouse.com. Sign in for your login portion for it. If you haven't already, for those of you in Crawfish, anybody that's going to be in the Canary class, this won't pertain to you. You don't have any Treehouse lessons for yours. So anybody in Crawfish in the Ruby on Rails course, you'll go ahead and accept the invitation that you were emailed. If you haven't gotten one of those yet, then contact me, let me know at the end of the call, so that way I can be sure that we've got you set up. But you'll accept the invitation for Treehouse. There should not be any kind of cost or subscription to it at all, because we pay for it. It's on our account, and you all are students under our account, but you set up your own profile and your own login and everything. So you would just sign in, and then you should have tracks that you're assigned to as far as what you'll be covering. They do offer other tracks as well. If there's anything that you want to poke around on and, you know, oh, I need a refresher on this particular JavaScript concept, then you can always poke around on the ones that they have available and take a look at those. But it's fairly straightforward, and the links directly to the tracks are on your lessons as well. So you don't necessarily need to know specifically where you're going. As long as you have your password saved on your browser and you click the link on the lesson page, it'll take you directly where you need to go. Questions about Treehouse at all? Okay. So the road, oh, go ahead.
So would this recording be available later on to revise?
Oh, yes. So the Team Treehouse for the Ruby on Rails class, you do have access to it for a month after the end of the class. And the class date ends on May 3rd. So you should have until June 3rd for your access between when you've signed up until June 3rd to be able to access anything that you need to on Treehouse.
I mean this recording that you're doing right now.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll be posting the orientation recording. Yeah, absolutely. It'll be in the class announcements channel on Slack. Perfect. Okay. So then the Road to React portion.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Excuse me. I had a question. So for the people that we had already the access for in Treehouse, so we can continue, right?
Yes.
Or we need a permit again.
No, you shouldn't need to do any kind of accepting of any invitations again or anything, Fabian. That's an excellent question. If you've already been in a class and had Treehouse access, so those of you coming out of the Comet class, then nothing will change other than I think your dashboard should show your new track. So it'll show your backend Ruby on Rails assignments available on your dashboard. If you don't see it, or if you can't access it or have any issues, then just let me know. But I'm pretty sure everybody that's already listed as enrolled in that class I've updated. So you should be able to see all of the Ruby on Rails assignments at this point.
Okay,
excellent
thank
question.
you, Mary.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. So for the React class, courses.robinwerrick.de, and then sign in. And this link is on the lesson page. So those of you in Canary in the React class, you don't have to worry about remembering these URLs. They're all in your lesson page in your like getting started section. So that way you have the links for where to go. But you'll sign in, you'll create a profile and sign in. There's a password for you to be able to basically you put the book in the shopping cart, and then you add the coupon code that we have in there for you to be able to have the entire price of the book negated and brought down to 0. So there shouldn't be any cost or expense for you for the text either. If you run into any issues, then please let me know right away, so that way I can follow up with the author and make sure that he has the right amount of allowances of coupon codes or whatever set up on his end. But after you sign in, let me see if reloading it'll show the cover images or not. It'll have the different texts available. The Road to React is the one that we're using for the class, and you would just select Get Started. and then it will take you to the text. So it has an introduction section. You can download the book for access to the book online if you don't want to download the entire file. Then it has it broken up into different sections, and all of your lessons are labeled as far as, you know, for lesson 1, then it's going to be React fundamentals, the Hello React, the requirements, the project setup, those kind of things. Questions?
Can you post the link, please? Or how we will have access for the link? The material is on.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Treehouse?
absolutely. So let me go ahead and actually put the links for your classes in, because that was the next thing that I was going to be covering anyway. Let me put those links in for you, Eli. Hold on. Just need to copy it from the right spot. And then let me do the chat. Okay, so those are the links for those 2 different classes. If you're going to be in the Canary class, click on the first, Crawfish, click on the second, and that will take you to the main learn.codethedream.org site, which is what I was going to cover next. So on the main site, which is just learn.codethedream.org, then we have all the classes that we have currently running available. So we've got Crawfish here and Canary here. You can also just use the drop-down menu to be able to select the class that you're in. So for Crawfish, we've got your course calendar as far as what lessons are covering what days. There are a couple of things that you'll want to look over in this week prior to class, as far as getting your machine set up, getting your environment set up. And then we just have the GitHub cookbook link here in case you need a refresher as far as like how to pull, how to push, how to merge, anything like that, then that's available there. But each lesson assignment, you'll just click on the link, it opens in a new page. It'll give you a rundown of what's going to be covered for that particular lesson. And then here are your links that'll take you to those Team Treehouse videos to watch and the tutorials with Team Treehouse. And then in the assignment section is where you'll have a link that will take you to the actual assignment. So for this one, it takes to the backend SQL intro repo in Code the Dream School. Questions about that process?
Mary, one question. So should you already have the Rails environment already set up for when you
Not
start the
yet.
class?
That's what this coming week you'll want to work on, is doing this machine setup portion for the Ruby on Rails. For those of you in the Crawfish class, that's what you'll want to work your way through. If you run into any issues, please share those on the discussion channel. And I'm going to be keeping an eye, especially this week, on the Crawfish discussion channel in particular, because I know sometimes the environment setup can be a little bit of a struggle. So post anything in there, and that way I can start getting the mentors in touch with you to help troubleshoot any issues. There are so many moving parts whenever you're setting up an environment, as far as which versions work with which version operating systems and all that kind of stuff. So any issues that you run into, just post in the discussion. Giving as much information as possible when you post is really helpful, as far as what operating system you're running on, which versions of Ruby and or Rails that you currently have in place or that you are trying to install. If you have a screenshot of any error messages that you're getting, or even just copy and paste the error message, that is very helpful and goes a long way. So that kind of information is what you'll want to include if you run into any issues with environment setup.
So when the class starts, when the actual SQL starts and the Ruby starts, you should already have the full Rails system set up so you can work in that environment. There is no artificial environment to play in, like.
You know, I'm not sure, because I haven't taken the backend class myself. So I think there is a virtual machine that you set up, I believe.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so just follow along with the configuring your machine, and that'll help. And you know, if you hit any walls, then just let me know. And it will be somebody other than me helping you, because I am not the strongest in backend. So for everybody's sake, it will be somebody more experienced than I helping.
And by the way, I wish I had some virtual water to offer you, because to help you.
Thanks.
One question, Mary.
Yeah, go ahead.
During the process to log in to have the material, do we need to create accounts for the Robin?
Yes, yeah, for the Robin Warwick, yeah, you will create your own account because that's how they track to see who has gotten a copy. And that's how they, kind of keep track of as far as like licensing goes for their digital book. So yeah, you'll create your own account. You won't be logging in with the volunteer account like what I had in that screen share that I was showing.
Okay.
Which let me go ahead and show you real quick. Here we go, sign up for access to your text. So when you first go to the Red Canary section here, then this will take you to your main site page for your class, which gives you the calendar for the breakdown of what lessons are covered when. And then sign up for access to your text is where you'll want to go. And that gives you screenshots of this is where you go, this is how you sign up, this is the code that you use, so on and so forth. And it walks you through being able to get access to that text. Great question, Eli. Any other questions so far? All right, awesome. Okay, so that covers what you're, let me show you what the lesson format looks like for Canary as well. So for the lesson section, it's the same kind of a thing as far as it'll show you what your objectives are. This is where it gives you the breakdown of which of those chapters you need to cover in the text for that week. And then these are the supplemental videos. We do have them embedded so you can watch them directly on the site, or you can click the links and it'll open in a new page in YouTube for you to be able to view the videos that Jared made. And then the assignments section, there's going to be a link for your project overview here. And that shows you the whole scope of everything you'll be working on for the duration of the course. And then the individual assignment will be here. So it just kind of gives you an idea of where those links are. Okay. Feel free to bookmark the learn.codethedream.org website now on your browsers, by the way, because that's something you'll probably be visiting a lot, or at least you'll be using the links that I'm sending out every Wednesdays for your lessons a lot too. All right, so that covers our instruction materials. All the lessons are outlined like you just saw on learn.codethedream.org, and it shows you the start dates and the end dates and it's okay to work ahead, and it's okay if you fall a little bit behind, just as long as you work to catch up. But that gives you an idea of what the deadlines are for when those assignments should be turned in. Watch the videos, read the text, code alongside, take notes. People take notes in different ways, so whatever you're comfortable with. If you have a physical notebook, great. If you want to use like a Google Docs or Microsoft Word or just a notepad, whatever you want to do, feel free to take notes while you're reading and learning, and make a list of questions. It's important to have those things ready so that way you make the most of your mentor session hour to be able to come prepared with the questions that you have about either the assignment or about the lesson material that's being covered. All right.
Mary,
Yeah.
One question: when you do the mentor sessions, is it okay for to use recording, or should you ask? Is it unique per session, or?
I think I'm not sure if y'all will have access to it or not, because all of the Zoom calls for your mentor sessions happen on Code the Dream accounts. So the mentors don't even like log in as an administrator on that account. So I'm not 100% sure if they even have access to make a recording of it. Usually whoever the administrator is that is hosting that Zoom call is the one that has access to be able to record or not. So I don't know the answer to that for sure. But if there is anything that you need or want reference to later, then please be sure to ask your mentors to pop it in the discussion channel, or to DM it to you, direct message it to you on Slack. So that way you have access to, whatever tutoring or resource or whatever they're referencing in the mentor session as well. Good question. Okay, I'm going through instructions for signing up for the text, and it mentions a coupon code. Yes, there should be in the, let me double check on the site real quick to see if we have the coupon code already in there or not.
Yes, should be my question.
Okay, let me take a look real quick, Eli. Sign up for access to your text. I feel like I had the passcode. Oh wait, no, it was via Slack. Okay. I have not shared it in your all Slack channel yet. Let me look in the last React class ones and see. And then I need to confirm with our curriculum team if they have spoken with the author to increase the number of licenses that we have to be able to get those free texts. But let me just take a look real quick. Should be up at the very, very beginning. Any other questions while I'm looking through this real quick to get you all the code?
Nope. I was just curious about the code too as well, Mary. It said on our course syllabus that we're to sign up for access to the text on October 13th. But if
Yeah,
we could
you can
do that
you can do
sooner,
it prior to.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that would be great.
Yeah, let me double check and see. Sorry, I have to kind of go through the history from the EGRIT class because I imagine the code will be the same for both. That one is there. Yeah, I'll have to dig a little bit to be able to find where it was at. But I'll be sure to post it in Slack channel. To be able to give you all access to it. So that way you can start your reading prior to if you'd like to. Oh, here we go. Okay, coupon code. So give this a try. And like I had said, if I'm posting it in chat now, if there's any issue, like if it gives you any kind of error, then let me know. So that way we can contact the author and remind them that they need to increase the number of allowances on that coupon code so that we can get that available to you all. All right, so that covers our instructional materials. So let's dig into assignments a little bit now. So all the assignments are covered on GitHub, and that's the most important of the week tasks because it lets us know that you're understanding the material and that you're able to kind of work through it. And like I said earlier, it's okay if you don't have all of the right answers and if your code's not working. Even if things are broken, still go ahead and submit it. You can always resubmit it after you work through it and get things functional. So it's fine to submit the same assignment multiple times. So you can do it, once on or before the deadline, and then once it's completely functional. Sorry, the code should be in the, oh, I'm sorry. Somehow I had Peter selected as a direct message when I was sending that passcode. Sorry about that, Crystal. Here we go. All right. Okay, does everybody see that? For the Canary, the code underscore the underscore dream as the passcode for the React text.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, good. Oh, Zoom, how you always try and thwart me. Anyway, all right, so assignments. GitHub is where you'll be forking those repos, doing the coding work that you need to, and then you do a pull request back to your own repo. When you're doing your pull request, make sure that it's comparing your branch back to the main of your own repo instead of back to the main of the Code the Dream School repo. That's one thing I just want to make sure everybody's aware of. So that way we know that it's going to merge to the right place when you look at, when your assignment gets assessed and you go ahead and merge it, then we want to make sure it's merging to the right place so that all your changes are in your own copy and not being sent back to our copy. So like I said, even if it doesn't run, feel free to go ahead and submit it so that way we know that you've been working on it, and definitely better late than never. So if you don't get it in on time, still go ahead and get it in as soon as you're able to. Be patient with reviewers. I'm still working on lassoing and collecting all of my reviewers together. So at the very beginning, it might be a little late as far as getting feedback on your assignments, but I'll be working to be able to try and get that streamlined as quickly as possible. If you ever go more than like 10 to 14 days after you've submitted an assignment and you still don't have feedback by that point, please let me know right away. So that way I can track down whoever was responsible and or get somebody else to be able to review. So that way you're getting feedback in as timely a manner as possible. So
quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if you send in your submission and it wasn't reviewed, are you still able to continue moving on to the next assignment?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
excellent question, Danielle. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Still keep working through. The review is mainly so that way we can give you feedback as far as if there's an issue. If you had submitted your assignment and it wasn't working and you need it to be working before you move on to the next week, and you aren't getting feedback in the time frame that you need, then contact me or reach out to your mentors and be like, hey, I know this still isn't working and I know I need it to be working in order for me to go on to next week's assignment. So reach out to either myself or your mentors to be able to be like, help, because this has to be working before I can do the next week and I don't want to get too far behind.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. So let me just show GitHub real quick so that way if anybody's unfamiliar with it, then they can be familiar with it. GitHub.com. If you don't already have a account, go ahead and create an account for yourself. And your repositories will be listed. Usually they do whatever ones you've been most active in on your main page. And then repositories will be listed here as far as different things that you build. It mentions what kind of language you're building them in. As you can see, I don't have anything that's Ruby on Rails. So like I said, if you have any technical questions on Ruby on Rails, I'm not your man. But your repos will be listed there. So when you are forking your repo initially at the very start of class, then be sure that you're getting it set up in your own copy, just like so. And then when you go to, I'm trying to remember if I have one with an open pull request. Oh, good, I do. When you go to submit your assignment, then this will be the link that you want to submit. So you'll be in your repo for your assignment and your pull request that you would have created from your working branch that you're going to merge back to your main branch. You'll create a pull request, and then this will be the link that you'll send. And that way we can go ahead and access whatever your pull request was to take a look at. Any questions about GitHub? We do have resources available on the class site. Let me pull that back over. So the GitHub cookbook that's on the back end classes, and I think I have a link for it on the front end at the bottom too. Yeah, GitHub cookbook. So those links are helpful if you need any help with GitHub. And then we also have class resources, student resources that'll give you helpful information that you might need for anything along those lines. So feel free to use those links on the learn.codethedream.org site as well if need be.
So
yeah,
if you have questions about GitHub, then you can go to those links and do a refresher of how it works.
Exactly. Yeah, the GitHub cookbook's really quite good as far as it covers like how to submit your assignments via GitHub. But there are other links in that student resources that help with like merging, creating a pull request, submitting an assignment, that kind of a thing. Let me pull this back over real quick for you, Miguel. This link here. To be able to help with that. And then additional resources too, like if you're getting into a section where you're like, oh, how do I do mapping of arrays in JavaScript? Then we've got a bunch of external resources like W3 Schools, Replit, different tutorials available here that you can reference. If there's anything specific that you're like, I don't remember how to do that, then feel free to reference anything that's in that section as well. Yeah.
And if you have like if you're going through the course and you get stuck on a concept, is there a resource if you need 101 kind of maybe tutoring? Is there something like that, or can you speak to someone?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been trying to arrange for every class that we have to have at least one mentor that's a by appointment only mentor. I have not had any of my current mentors for the Canary or the Crawfish class express interest in wanting to mentor that way. So go mentor sessions as your first route of attack. And if you're needing one-on-one help, then talk to the mentors in that session or post in the discussion channel and say, look, I really need help with this particular concept. Is anybody available? If you're not getting answers like a response back from one of the mentors, then direct message me. And that way I can ping them and be like, hey, somebody, we need to have you connect with this student within the next 24 to 48 hours. Yep. Perfect. Excellent questions. All right. So that covers assignments. Any questions on that? I do want to show you real quick how to submit assignments too. So let me go to Slack. All right. You should have already received a Slack invitation if you're new to us, to our workspace. If you are not new to us, then you should have your class channels accessible already now. Anything with a hashtag is a public channel, so that way you can access any of the public channels. If there are any channels that you hear about or would like to be a part of that you don't have access to and you can't find, let me know and I can add you into those channels. But everybody should at least have general, all student convo, and then your class announcements and your class discussion channels. So if you don't have 4 channels in your Slack when you sign in, then let me know what ones you do have so I can find out where you're missing and get you entered into those. So as I had said, Canary announcements. Yeah, sorry I didn't see those messages, guys, since I was already on the call. Thank you, Anastasia, for being able to give the dream passcode to be able to sign in. I really appreciate that. Props. So yeah, announcements will be here, and then discussion section will be here. To submit your assignments, so it's a Slack bot called Squibby, and you can either search in the search bar up here for Squibby, SQUIBBY, and you would select Ask Squibby. Or in any message, you don't have to be in a particular channel. You can even be in like a direct message with somebody, but in the create new message field down here, there's a little shortcuts, lightning bolt, and then you can start typing Squibby there and select Ask Squibby. So you can do it either way. It'll pull up this question bot and you just select whichever class you're in. You select which assignment you're submitting for. The intro to programming ones are listed first. React lessons are listed second. Rails ones are listed third. So just scroll until you find whatever week assignment that you're working on. And then here's where you would post your GitHub pull request link here. And then this is new. We just got this up and running today, actually. A lot of students were wanting confirmation that we received their submission okay. So this is a new feature, and you do have to enter in your email address in this field, and you'll get an email, an automated email saying, yes, we received your submission. So you'd put your email address in here for where you want to receive that at. And then if you have any issues, feel free to put those in here. Assignment reviewers are told to take a look to see what you've entered into that field when they're reviewing, so that they know if you had questions outside of what your code is showing you're comfortable with, then they know that they can point you to resources or answer those questions for you. So any issues you can plug in there. If you don't have any, you can leave it blank. That's perfectly fine. And then you just hit submit and check your email to make sure that we got it okay. Questions about Slack or Squibby? Good to go? All right, nice. So Squibby, I just showed you this, but it gives you little screenshots. Open Slack in the Slack message space. You can either do that or use the search at the top. And you'll look for Ask Squibby, and then you'll fill out your student question bot and hit submit. If you have any issues with it or anything, feel free to reach out to me about it too.
Mary?
Yeah.
I have one question about the email for Squibby confirmation. It should be our GitHub address mail, or
it can be whatever email you want, actually. So the GitHub URL is what you'll put in as your assignment. So let me pull that down again real quick. So GitHub, here we go. So in the field that asks for your GitHub repository URL, then that's where you'll put this address here. And then in the field where it asks for your email address, that's where you would just put in whatever email address you want. So it would be, you know, maryalice@codethedream.org, or, you know, whatever email you check often, your own personal email that you check often is what you'd put in the email section. Other questions? Good. All right, so let's start digging into mentor sessions. Mentor sessions typically are small groups. Usually it's like a maximum of 8 students to a session, although there are some mentors that are comfortable having more than that. So you might be in a larger session. Elliot is one of our curriculum builders and is an awesome mentor with the current Road to React class, so they will not be available to be able to mentor for your all's Road to React class, but they're one of the few, and I think they've had like about 20 students in their mentor session at one time. I don't know how they managed to get all of that done in an hour, but you might see more than 8, but typically it's about you know, anywhere from 3 to 10 is the number that you'll see in your mentor session. The sheets go out on Mondays through that Slack announcement channel, and you just click the link. It takes you to a Google Doc sheet for you to be able to sign up on the days, and I'll show you what those look like in just a minute, and attend at least 2 sessions per week and come prepared. So those notes and questions that you wrote while you were going through the lesson material, bring those with you to your mentor session. All right, so let's take a look at what these mentor session sheets look like. The link will just be to this Google Sheets document here. And your Zoom link to be able to connect to your mentor session will always be in the top corner. So if you're already in this document, then you can just click there. Mentors a lot of times will put the link in their post when they say, hey, my mentor session's starting in about 5 minutes. Then you can access the link that way. Or I will also have that link pinned to your Slack channel, so you can access it easily there also. But this will be your mentor session. There'll be tabs along the bottom for each week. This is just for the first week since we're just getting going next week. And it's days of the week, and then the mentor's name and the start time for their session. So Khan's session will start at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on Saturday the 16th, and then he's got another one on Tuesday the 19th, same times there. There will be more than just these 3 individuals. I'm still getting word back from our mentors this week about what their availability is for what days of the week they want and what hours they want. But that's what the Crawfish one looks like. And then let me pull over Canary, same kind of a thing. Canary session, same deal. Zoom link for yours there. The Zoom links are different for the classes. So if somehow you wind up in a document that's not for your class and you click the Zoom link, then you're going to go to the wrong place and there won't be anybody there. Or there'll be a completely different class covering something that you're not expecting. Days of the week, person who is going to be mentoring, and then the start time for the mentor session. If you ever see a time in parentheses after, they're in a different time zone than like United States Eastern Standard or United States Pacific Standard. So I just put it there for their reference. So Left Terrace is in Central European time zone. That's why I've got a different time there. So always go by whatever time you see in this row. All right, questions about the mentor session sign-up sheets at all?
Mary, I have a question about the Google Sheet. So
Yeah.
we just put our names there, right? So
Exactly, yeah. Let me show you one that's already in use real quick, just so you can kind of see what it looks like. eGrid mentor sessions, here we go. And if there's ever any changes, then I'll do like strike throughs and mark canceled if they're sick that week and they can't make it, or if they're have a family emergency. So I update anything along those lines there. But otherwise, you would just put in your name in any of the fields below, just one right after the other to sign up for that session. And that's also how mentors will know that somebody is signed up for their session, because if, like in Joseph's case, if nobody signs up for his session, then he'll know, okay, not to bother. Or some mentors might sign on anyway. So if you see a mentor session that doesn't have anybody signed up, you're welcome to click the Zoom link and connect at that time and see if the mentor happens to be on and is available. Some of them do like to sit there for the hour and wait and see if anybody pops in. Some don't. It just depends on the mentor. If I do wind up with by appointment only mentors available for your class, then you'll see this column at the start, and you would just direct message the individuals who are by appointment only mentors to be able to schedule a one-on-one with them.
and also, it's recommended to have at least 2 sessions per week, right?
Correct, yeah. If your schedule doesn't allow you to make 2, that's fine. You can probably get by on 1 unless you're struggling with the concepts that week. And you're welcome to do more than 2 if you want. Some students will kind of do a bunch at the beginning and bounce around to different mentors to just see who you communicate with the best and who has a teaching style that works best for you. So don't feel like you have to commit yourself to whatever you signed up for the first week. You don't have to stick with that from week to week.
Okay, and I assume that that's for like a group setting, right? It's not just one-on-one.
Correct. Yeah, the mentor session sign-up sheets that I post that I was just sharing with you, that's group sessions. If you do feel like you need or want any one-on-one, then just post in the discussion and just do like a @channel. Let me pull up Slack. Oops, hold on. Let me pull up Slack again real quick just so you can see. So you can just do @channel and it'll notify everybody. And just be like, hey, I really need a one-on-one with one of the mentors who's available, and that way they can contact you.
Oh, okay.
It does alert
Like,
everybody to do that. So if you all have your notifications on your phones or on your desktops or laptops, and all of a sudden you hear ping, 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 then it's somebody using an @ channel. So
yeah.
And Mary, one question. So if you are advised to have 2 mentors per week, is there a way, if you wanted to just keep it recurrent and keep one mentor recurrent if you're kind of busy and you just want to have it automatically, can you do that?
unfortunately, no, because sometimes my mentor schedules do change from week to week. A lot of our mentors work full-time jobs with development shops already. And so if they have a big project that, is making them, oh, well, now I have to move it to Friday this week instead of having it on my usual Wednesday, that kind of thing. So just check and sign up for the same ones. That's perfectly fine to sign up for the same ones week to week, but just be aware that there might be changes here and there that would affect your consistency. One-on-one sessions do count as a mentor session as well, by the way. So if you make one scheduled group mentor session, and then you need to schedule a one-on-one mentor session with one of the mentors, then that can count as your second one, just as an FYI. Michael, did you have another question too?
No, I was gonna ask if these sessions were like an hour long, 2 hours long. I wasn't.
Yeah, the group sessions, the mentor sessions that you sign up for on that Google Sheet is a 1-hour session. Sometimes they'll run a little bit longer. It depends on the mentor. If they've got some time after their 1-hour block that they can stay on and keep answering questions, and they can, but typically plan for it to be about an hour.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Other questions about mentor sessions at all?
I'm thinking, Mary, what you're telling us, well, at least for me, it's quite a lot to take in as you start your week and you're gonna plan your week, and okay, I'm thinking I'm gonna do my Slack, plan the 2 meetings, take care of the curriculum, go through the treehouse things, and I'm kind of thinking like a centralized thing so I can organize the whole thing and keep track of the timeline and the schedule,
Yeah, absolutely. So Mondays is when I'll post the sign-up sheet. And so you won't need to have any kind of reminders or anything in place for you. You'll see that alert on your class announcements page, and it'll be, here's the link to the sign-up sheet. And I post the link every time. So you're not going to have to go and track down the document or anything. It'll be mentor session sign-up sheets ready for the week. Here it is. Click the link, go ahead and plug in what ones you want for that week. And then on Wednesday, I post the link for the lesson as well. So that way you have that. And I also go ahead and post the mentor session sign-up sheet again on Wednesday also. So if you haven't signed up for your mentor sessions yet, then you can go ahead and do it on Wednesday with a link there. So most of the things that you'll need to do as far as, the signing up and, reading over what your lesson is for the week, you'll have those links in your class announcements channel on Mondays and Wednesdays. So once you see those, then, you can go ahead and do whatever you need to do with those. As far as how you organize your time for your assignments and when you want to sign up for your mentor sessions is up to you. One thing I wanted to note about mentor sessions. So your class week starts on a Wednesday and your homework's due on a Tuesday. We've let mentors who are hosting on Wednesday and Thursday nights know that obviously a lot of you will not have gotten into your lesson yet for the week. You might have only been able to start your reading and not completed it, or you might not have even been able to touch on it other than just reading the page that outlines what you're learning this week. So in those instances, then we let them know to either go over information from the previous week's lesson to kind of do a review on that if anybody needs to. For the first week, obviously, there's nothing to review other than maybe help and make sure that your environment's set up right, or make sure that you're accessing your book okay, or things like that. But they can also do a preview. So if you're just because a session's on a Wednesday or a Thursday and you haven't started the lesson yet for that week, doesn't mean that the mentor session would be wasted. You can definitely go to those sessions so that way you can kind of get a rundown of, all right, this is what we're covering this week. This is what they'll be teaching you. This is why this lesson's important and how it'll interact with the other things that you've learned, that kind of information. So don't discount a Wednesday or a Thursday night mentor session, because it can either help you review from the week before, or it can help give you a preview and some insight into how to tackle your current week's assignment. So I think that covers everything for mentor sessions. Other questions or anything? Good. Okay. All right. So then community, Slack is the primary portion for being able to do a community situation. We have had classes in the past that have set up like a Discord server to be able to do that. You all are welcome to do that. We just don't have the bandwidth administration wise to be able to set up that and monitor it and do whatever else we need to as far as creating accounts and yada yada. So Slack is the primary one. But if you all want to meet on your own private Zoom to be able to do a little study group session, feel free to. If you want to meet just to socialize, you know, whatever is comfortable and would help you all, feel free to do. Don't feel like you're limited to only talking to people on Slack. If you want to share each other's, you know, cell phone numbers and text each other, whatever, it's completely up to you, however you want to build your community. As far as like curriculum questions, things like that, I know it can be difficult to ask and it can, you know, feel embarrassing to ask, but for every student that I've ever had that has asked a question and they felt stupid for asking the question, I have had 2 other students with the exact same question. So you are not stupid for asking any question, and there will be others with those same questions. So please feel free to post and ask anyway. You know, you're going to get the most out of it if you get more people involved to be able to learn from, more experiences to be able to learn from, because students are on different levels. You all have different levels of experience. Some of you have even worked in different programming languages that are similar or drastically different from what you'll be working in your class. And so sometimes that's a good point of reference. So feel free to communicate with each other however you need and want to. We will periodically do whole class check-ins. So most of them are just an emoji survey rating scale on Slack. We'll say, hey, we just want to check in, see how everybody's doing. And you post, you know, a smiley face or a my head is exploding face or whatever you want to post. If you have any kind of like negative emoji to indicate that you're struggling, then Emily or I will follow up with you individually, just to see, okay, what's going on, talk to us, let's help you through it, let's get you the resources that you need so that way you can get back on track. So feel free to share feedback when we do those surveys to find out where everybody's at, or if you know, you don't have to wait for one of those, you can reach out to Emily or I and be like, hey, this is a mess, I need help. Feel free to contact us, that's what we're here for. And I think that covers everything for community. Any other questions about community stuff? Good, good. All right, so final project. Final project is going to be the most important determinant of who we accept into the apprenticeship program. We do look at what your progress and process was like throughout the course, but the final project is your opportunity to showcase that you've learned all of the material that was covered throughout the course. So your final project compiles everything. It is a comprehensive final project. It's not just like, oh, well, this just tests you, or, you know, shows your aptitude on the last 7 weeks or anything like that. It does the entire thing. And the last 3 to 4 weeks usually of both courses is when you'll really be focusing hard on making sure that you iron out any wrinkles and fix any bugs and get it functioning how you want it to. So just keep that in mind, that even if the lesson that you're doing currently isn't something that is an actual, you know, literal piece of your final project, what you're learning will be coming into play as you build your final project. So make sure that you're understanding the concepts each week so you can put them into play in your final project. There are rubrics available, so that way you know what the expectation is for the final project on that learn.codethedream.org site. Under that student resources tab is where they have a final projects rubrics link. So you can take a look at what those outlines have been for what the expectation is for all of the check boxes that you need to meet for what your final project should look like on previous classes. Just to give you an idea, we don't have one for Canary yet because we are still building the curriculum in the predecessor to your class, the EGRIT class. So once we have that available, then we will have the final rubric available for it as well. So after you do all of this individual work for the first 17 weeks, then there's an 8-week period at the end of your class where we'll be splitting you into small groups of 3 to 4 students, and you'll be working on a real-world deployable app that either we present you with the concept and you build to those specifications, almost as if you were working in a development shop already and you had a client approach you saying, this is what I want you to build for me, or We can also take final project ideas from the Ruby on Rails course, where they get to design what their final project's going to be themselves. And we put you together to be able to build on one of those final projects to kind of expand it. The practicum is a really important part, especially for the job portion, for getting into a job after you're done with the coursework, because a lot of the feedback we were getting from our graduates was I was turned down for some positions because I didn't have any team experience. So that's why we built in this 8-week period at the end of your course to be able to be a group team project work, so that you can understand how to handle merge requests, how to divvy up work, who's going to work on which features, who's going to work on which bug fixes, who's going to, better design the user interface, things along those lines. And you all work together to be able to create that finished project and then go from there. So once the practicum is complete, then the work that you put in your final project, the individual work you put in the first 17 weeks, your final project, and how you were participation wise in your practicum and how you contributed to your group project and your practicum will all play into factors that we look at as far as who we're going to determine to bring into Code the Dreams labs for the apprenticeship portion.
And Mary, with that practicum, how do you say it? Practicum? That
practicum
time.
Yeah.
Practicum time. Would you be able to put that in your resume at the end of the?
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything that you work on and build in your class, put it in your resume. Absolutely.
And would that be? Could you use that group networking, teamwork? Would that be referenced? Could that be referenced as a Scrum or Agile development, as some companies ask, and require?
I think the way Lauren Sheridan is our practicum director, and I think the way she has it set up is for it to be Agile. Yes. So okay. It should coincide with those kind of requirements. Yes. Excellent question.
Great.
Any other questions about final project or practicum?
Yes, I actually wanted to know, so I guess for the group project, are we going to be using, or are you going to be providing us with a like a project platform like Asana or something along those lines?
That's what we're still working on. As far as initially our game plan was that we would pull in some of our Ruby on Rails students to build the backend portion, and then we would have Rails and React to be able to manipulate and build the front end portion. So we would be merging your two classes together, but the numbers don't work out well enough to where we would only have like one backend person for 3 front end individuals. So I'm not sure how that's going to be broken out. There was also some discussion about having like boilerplate stuff set up for React students. And that way Ruby on Rails students can just stay within Ruby on Rails and build their practicum project within those structures themselves. And then React students would be able to use this boilerplate that we have set up with like a fake backend data server, and then you would use React to be able to access that data and present it into a user interface. So it's still up in the air as to which way it's going to go, but as soon as I have those details, then I will definitely be sharing with you all so that way you have a better idea of what practicum specifically is going to be entailing.
Okay, and so for that section, is it mainly, I guess, student focused? Like, are we going to be making our own tasks for each other? Okay.
Yes, yeah. And I believe unless they're changing how they do this, for the past practicum group that we had, we say, here are the different projects. Let us know. You do a survey saying which projects you're interested in working on. So you have some say into what project you want to build. And then we group you according to, who wants to work on this particular calendar app, who wants to work on this weather app, who wants to work on this to-do list app, that sort of a thing. And so we build it out into those kind of structures. And we might also have the option of, if there are 3 or 4 of you that you've been working well together throughout the class and you'd like to work together cohesively on a project, then you can say, we want to be a group together, give us a project to work on. So we could go that route as well, potentially.
Okay.
Great questions, Danielle. Any other questions about practicum or final projects? Yay, I'm glad y'all are getting excited. Woohoo! It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it's really worth it and it's a lot of fun. The last thing I want to cover as far as, feedback and that kind of information. So we don't do grades. Like, we don't want you just, oh, okay, checking boxes. Here's my piece of paper. Yay, I've completed this. We want you to know what you're doing. We want you to have a developer's mindset, a programmer's mindset, because technology changes very quickly. Languages and frameworks that are in fashion in 5 years from now, they will be obsolete and there will be something new that will have replaced it. So we really want you to be able to understand the basic concepts and how those work, regardless of what language you're working in. But obviously we need to teach those in the context of a particular language. So that's why Ruby on Rails and React are the focuses that you're going to be learning as far as how to build the syntax and how to write your algorithms and anything along those lines. But we don't do grading because, A's, B's, C's can vary from organization to organization as far as what they interpret those values to be. We want you to just have a deep understanding of programming and understand those concepts so that way they're translatable to other languages and other frameworks down the road. That makes you a much more valuable employee in the industry. That is why also when you're getting your feedback on your assignments, you're not going to say, like, oh, 80%, 20%, whatever. Like, it's going to be, this part was great. This is wonderful. This is working. Here are some areas you might want to improve on. It'll be that kind of sort of qualitative feedback, and it's not going to be a number on a page. So just be aware that we don't do grading, we do understanding here. Okay, so class tools, we've gone over all of these earlier in the call. Google Sheets for your mentor session signups, Treehouse, Road to React for your instructional materials. Feel free to use Google Docs or a notepad or whatever you're comfortable for taking your notes. Oh, code editor. Thank you. I wanted to show you that real quick too. You can use whatever code editor you want. So Notepad, Brackets, Dreamweaver, whatever you feel comfortable doing is perfectly fine. The majority of our students use what's called Visual Studio Code. So you have your file structures here as far as like your HTML files, any image files or CSS, JS, those kinds of things. And then up in the top section is where you'll see the actual code written to be able to write your functions and have your data rendered and or manipulated based on what type of document you have. And then you have a section for your terminal here, so that way you can be able to stage your commits, push them and pull them to and from your repository to be able to make any updates to your GitHub repo for your code. But it's whatever is most comfortable for you to work in. Feel free to. If you want to use Visual Studio Code and you're new to it, then let me know, because I will put you in touch with individuals who can kind of help you get that set up and get the ball rolling for you. Okay, so, and then terminal like Git Bash. Some people prefer to use like the command prompt on their computer to be able to do their pushes and pulls. Visual Studio Code has the terminal built in. So it's whatever you're comfortable doing for getting your documents to and from your GitHub repo. Zoom for mentor sessions, Slack for asking and responding to questions, being notified about any kind of announcements and whatnot, GitHub for your assignments, Squibby the Slack bot that I showed you earlier for submitting your assignments, and then the Code the Dream website in general if you need it or want it. Whoops, sorry. Then that is available here. It gives information about classes, applications. So if you have friends that would like to follow in your wonderful footsteps, then you can direct them our way and they can get more information about classes or even apply for upcoming future classes is fine too. And I think that covers everything as far as resources. So fire off those questions. I'm ready for you.
Mary, to keep track of, as you said, you'll be putting out memos every week, but to keep track of the schedules and so forth, should you look at your email or should you look at Slack, or just to kind of say, I'm gonna keep track of this stuff?
Slack will probably be the best place because on Mondays and Wednesdays are when I'll do the mentor session sign up sheet posts and the lesson posts. But whatever calendar system you currently use to keep track of, when you have your doctor's appointments and when you're taking a trip to see your parents and whatever else, feel free to use that to be able to structure yourself, and just be sure to notate that your lessons start on Wednesdays and assignments are due on Tuesday nights. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. If you're more of a physical, tangible person, you can even like print off that course, the homepage for your class that shows the course schedule. You can even print that off, stick it up by your desk, and you can check them off as you go through, or whatever system and method works best for you. Feel free to use it.
Okay, and I've noticed that, I think, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there students that cycle through the front and back end? So could you do the back end one year, and if there's a possibility to come back and do a front end, can that happen?
Absolutely. So we stagger our classes. Sorry, let me find my tab so I know what my dates are. So we stagger our classes so that once you complete one round of advanced, and you want to proceed on to the next of, the opposite end of advanced. So if you took front end this time and you want to take back end next, or if you took back end this time and you want to take front end next, then you should have a little bit of a gap between those. So for example, okay, 2022, your all's practicum ends May 3rd. And then the next advanced round of classes starts June 8th. So you have about a month between when one advanced class ends and when the next one begins. If you want to have a bigger gap in between there, then you're welcome to do that as well. And then just contact us. If you're having multiple months in between when you've completed one course and when you'd like to take the next course, then we may ask to either see what you've worked on in between, to know that you're keeping your coding skills sharp, or we might ask you to do a small like pre-work project, similar to what you would have done to apply for your class the first time around. So that way we can make sure that your skills are still sharp and you're not going to be too far behind everybody when you get into the next advanced class.
Mary, I have a question.
Yeah.
If I want to do in the same time both?
Unfortunately, we don't allow for that currently, because the small portion of students that we have permitted that for in the past, even when they haven't had jobs and other things going on in their life, having to learn in two different syntactic languages simultaneously was too much. It was causing too many errors for them to be able to process. How do I write it this way in Ruby? And then how do I need to write it this way in JavaScript for React? So for students' benefits, then we do not recommend and we do not encourage taking Ruby on Rails and React at the same time. We usually encourage you to take one and then take the other. So that way you can absorb all the material accurately the first time around and then change gears into the other language to be able to absorb that accurately the next time around. Good question.
Okay, and next question is, once I finish the core front end, do I have the right to have credits for the courses to, well, no? If I want to achieve like a master degree, PhD, do I have, I will have the credit for that?
I don't know for sure. So depending on if you're working on a master's or like a particular degree program with a community college or a college, we're not like an accredited school. So the United States school system, it works a little differently like that, as far as programs need to be accredited in order to be approved to have their curriculum be translatable between colleges or between schools. So we, and the tech industry in general doesn't tend to have a lot of structure that's even set up the way, like if you were to want a degree in English, in writing, in literature, then, you could translate some classes from a community college into a four-year university or vice versa, but it doesn't quite work that way in the tech industry. So you will get a certificate from us. It's not a language authorized certificate. So it wouldn't be like coming from W3 schools. It's not coming from JavaScript. It's not JavaScript saying you have a JavaScript certificate or anything like that. Like Cisco and Google, they have certificate programs specific to their software and languages that they use, for example. But you will get a certificate showing this is the amount of hours that you put in and this is the content that was covered. If you're applying for any kind of like master's program or associates or anything along those lines, and they need to know what your curriculum was to determine if they're going to give you their college credit for the lessons that you learned with us, then just have them contact us. And that way we can share with them what the curriculum was. And usually their registration office is who determines whether or not our classes will be translatable to what their curriculum requirements are. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I was explaining it well, but okay. Any other questions at all?
For the workshops you were talking about, how often are those?
They vary. We have, like on the Code the Dream Lab side, we have what's called a huddle every Friday at noon. Sometimes the topic is pertinent to only our interns and only our lab side. Sometimes it is more beneficial for students to be involved as well. So I would say on average about once a month, we have a workshop that's available that's directed towards students, and we would encourage you to attend. If there are topics that you're interested in that you'd like to be privy to, that you'd like to participate in, then feel free to let me know. Or you can also contact Alex at codethedream.org, Alex Rodriguez. She's one of our main administrators. And so she can help. She also organizes what is being presented on what weeks. So she can let you in on as far as like, oh, this particular topic that you told me you were interested in, we're going to be having a presentation on that. We'll make sure to include you on the link, that kind of a thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Mary, would you, if you don't mind, would you mind sharing how you came to, Code the Dream and what's
Oh,
your
sure.
experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually getting an associate's in web design. I have a background in psychology, and I did not like the kind of work that was involved. It was not really what I was expecting. So I was like, I need to do some kind of a career change, took a career test with a counselor, and they were like, you need to do something with like data structures or web design. So I was like, all right, well, let me take a look at Wake Tech Community College here in the Triangle and see about getting an associate's in web design. And while I was in that process, and they shared with me about Code the Dream, so I went ahead and interviewed, and they were like, yeah, we have free classes for people who are underrepresented. Women obviously are part of that underrepresented group. So they interviewed me and they permitted me to take the course. So I took the course in JavaScript and in front end and learned React. Once I completed the course, it was a different structure back then. Once I completed the course, then I did sort of like this interim, kind of like what the practicum is now, is sort of an interim project phase where I wasn't really an intern yet. I wasn't an apprentice yet, but I had completed the class. But I'd work with my classmates on building sort of practice structures to be able to understand, how APIs work and how you parse data and all of those kinds of fun details. And then once we were proficient in that, then they started putting us on projects with Code the Dreams labs. So the first project I worked on was called Rideshare, and it was a program to help homeless and elderly get rides from volunteer drivers to get them to and from programs that they were involved in, job interviews, medical appointments, that kind of a thing. So it was really pretty cool to work on a real world project at that point. And then I stopped to have a baby and took a little time off. And it was going to be too much to do a full-time apprenticeship once I was back on my feet after baby. So they were like, well, what if you mentor for the classes then, because you're confident in the material? So I said, sure. So I mentored the intro to programming class and did assignment review for that class as well. And then colic hit. And so that kind of threw everything into the, threw a wrench in the works at that point. And when I was getting ready to come back, they were like, we actually really need somebody that can organize all the classes and help students, find their way and get everything situated there. I was like, oh, well, sign me up. So now here I am.
I like your enthusiasm and your presentation skills. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Well, it's a lot of material that I'm a lot of familiar with, and so I'm sorry that I talk as much as I do, but it's a lot that I have to share in order for everybody to have what they need to get comfortable and get rolling right away. Thanks, Miguel.
Thank you.
Other questions or anything? All right. So at this point then, we are pretty much done. Keep in mind things that will help you be successful as far as making your plans each week, reserving the time to work on your homework, make sure that you're checking off your mask off initials, that you're getting everything done. Ask questions when you need it, seek out help when you need it. It does get harder as it goes along, but just stick to it and you can do this. We believe in you and we're here to support you, so reach out whenever you need help. Here's a little bit of advice from past students. You can read through a little bit if you want. And so then since we're wrapped, if nobody has any other questions that we need to cover content-wise, then next steps is just to make sure that your treehouse is working for those of you in Crawfish, and then make sure that you've got access to the text for those of you in React in Canary. Make sure Slack is up and running, make sure your GitHub's up and running. Check out the class website to kind of preview what you'll be covering with us, and bear with us. You know, nobody's perfect, everybody's human. So if I post a wrong link or if a link is broken, just let me know and I can usually fix it within 24 hours. So bear with us all. Class contact information is here. If you need to reach any of the administrators or instructors, then information is there. That's also available on the codethedream.org, like our main organization website is available there. And that covers it.